this is your first time here, just a couple of things. There are no audio questions available just due to the number of people that we have online. We want to try to keep this as focused and streamlined as possible. If you do have a question, by all means, use the question panel on the right-hand side and the chat panel and post your question, or the question panel, I'm sorry, and post your question, and we do have people staffing it to answer your questions as best we can. Today we have a special guest, as he's known in the music scheduling world, Dr. Keith Hill, the musicologist of music scheduling. And Keith will be presenting a whole series of tips and tricks. Keith is certainly well renowned for his expertise on not only MusicMaster, but virtually every music scheduling platform out there. He's very well versed in how they work and how to maximize the software. He consults a variety of radio stations and companies, and a vast radio experience. So we're pleased to have him on board today. Just another note that if you want to participate in future webinars, make sure that you check out the listing on our webpage at mmwin.com, where you register for this one. You must register for each individual webinar you want to attend. So, like I said, we won't waste a lot of time here. We've got 1 hour today with the good Dr. Keith Hill, and we'll get started right away. Go ahead, Keith.
All right, Mark, thank you very much. And just make sure, Mark, you could tell me we're seeing my webinar hit 60s, 70s, and 80s database here now. Everybody see that?
Everything looks good, and you're coming in fine.
Super duper. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and it's a treat for me to be online here with you today and kind of have a virtual meeting. Mark is gracious to say kind things. I made a list of a lot of things I wanted to cover, and actually there's always a discussion before a webinar about what we're going to cover, and I just told Jill Sorensen, I said, well, a lot of this is just teaching the software, but there are some cool, very cool things. I wanted to talk about some fundamental stuff here first. I'm going to talk about adding a song. The first thing, when you bring up the music display, I think a lot of folks online are going to know that they can show and hide various fields and put them in the order that they want. They can also save a particular layout. Well, let's talk about adding songs, though. One of the things that I like to do, and I don't want to add 186 songs, but I'm going to add one song to this particular database. And what I do is I have a template for adding a song, but I do leave one field out, and I do it what I think in a pretty interesting way. Some people put the artist keyword in there, but this particular station is a Media Touch radio station, and I might enter their number. Artist, now, let's say I'm going to put in another Bachman-Turner Overdrive song, so I'm going to put in Bachman. Now, this particular database, I can tell just by typing, I don't have autocomplete turned on. So let's go do that, because I think that's a real cool feature. That's in Tools. No, sorry, that is in Library Fields. And I'm going to go to Artist, and I'm going to change it to Autocomplete. Yes. I'm also going to do Title Autocomplete. Yes, just so everybody can see what will happen there. Okay, we say OK to that. Now when I type Bachman-Turner Overdrive, I've got the autocomplete. Now, they also happen to have a real cool song called Waterloo is Where the Water Is. So Waterloo is where, etc. Initially, it had that autocomplete. Embedded in my webinar today is a lot of what I think sensible choices that you can make in your database. So, for example, I'm going to click on Roll. My database is simply set up for male, female, and group. And in this case, I'm going to select male and group and put them both in. My energy code, I use a 3-scale. I think I'm fairly famous for the 3-scale that you can wrap your head around. We can take a look at the eras. This particular song, I will say, is from the late 70s. And then last but not least, again, something that I think that I've tried to convey to a lot of people, stars and non-stars. And the question is, the stars are the core artists that we could picket fence throughout the hour to help build time spent listening. But we're going to call these guys non-stars. And then, of course, the runtime information. Let's say it's a 10-second intro. It's a 4-minute, 11-second song. And I am typing and holding a phone in one hand. Here we go. It's cold, and it's from 1977. Okay. Now, what have I done? Well, I've entered a song, but I am missing one critical component, and that is the artist keyword. What I do is I actually open it up in the card view here, and we'll go down the artist keyword, and I'm going to type Bachman, and there we go, Bachman-Turner Overdrive. Now, for those music aficionados who are out there on this one, and I need to make sure that I can see this, I'm going to go to the end of this, and double-click on that, because I'd like to add Guess Who to this to keep them away from that. So now I'm going to provide the protection of against Bachman-Turner Overdrive, but also against the Guess Who. That's what I do, the way I add songs. Now I'm going to delete that one and not mess up this database. But one of the critical things, I think, is to have all the fields that are critical to you. Some guys or gals out there might say, well, why not put the artist keyword in? And you certainly can. You can take that artist keyword and put it there and have a template for song add. Make sure you don't forget that. And again, you can put multiple keywords. And as I look at this particular Bachman-Turner Overdrive doesn't have protection against the Guess Who. Again, if I wanted it, I could double-click on it and add the Guess Who there. Let's talk about another thing, something that I really, really dig about MusicMaster is the ability to copy and paste songs in here. And I made a note here, use the 70s power to paste into empty. So let's go to my 70s power category here. And I'm going to get rid of artist keyword because it's something I'm going to talk about. And I created an empty MusicMaster data set here. And I'm going to open this up and say OK. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to replicate the fields that I have up here. I'm going to get rid of category and media touch. But I've got artist, title, role, energy, era type, intro, runs, ending in year. Now this is going to take a second, but this is going to be well worth the ride. So let's artist, title, role. So let's go get artist, title, role. And I'm going to get artist. And let's go get title. And it's probably gender, but that's what we're all talking about here. I'm going to take those three. Now let's go back here. Energy, era, and type. Now, I may not even have those in this database yet, but I'm going to use fields that I can sort of do something with that are similar. So I'm going to take tempo instead of energy. Tempo, my short-term memory is not very good. Era and type. So let's find one for era. Let's take future one and use for era. Let's use star for type. And intro, runtime, ending in year. So let's go get intro, runtime, ending in year. So I'm going to go get intro. I'm going to get runtime. I'm going to get end. And then for peak year, I'm going to use future too. So I've got a field that I'm going to use for that purpose. So I open that up. And then when I look at my 60s, 70s database, I've got 43 songs here. I'm going to sort them by artist. So I've got 43 songs. So in my empty data set, I'm going to create 43 empty songs. And I'm just going to say, yeah, the end categories is fine. And 43 songs to the library, and there are 43 empty songs. When I go to my 60s, 70s, 80s database, I'm going to click on this upper left-hand corner and mark everything, edit, and copy. Then when I go to the empty data set, and assuming that I've done a decent job of lining out fields that are the same order, I'm going to do edit and paste. And look at what I've got. I've got title, artist, I've got a gender, I've got tempo. I could go in and rename this and make sure that I'm using the appropriate kinds of fields. But the point is, and I did that from one MusicMaster's data set to another, but imagine an Excel spreadsheet. So if you have an Excel spreadsheet made up of songs that you want to add, you can cut and paste in. Now, I think there's kind of a trick here in the world, and this is a little trick. Joe Knapp showed me this one, and this is one that I think is well worth the price of admission here. We're going to put artist keyword next to artist, and it's empty, and we're going to have to build those. Okay. Well, again, I think there's kind of a trick. The first thing I'm going to do is actually mark all of the artists, and I am going to copy them, and then in artist keyword, and I'm going to go back to the top, and I'm going to mark that and edit and paste. Now, I'd say, well, wow, that really is cool. Yes, and you can run your data set that way. But what if I'm interested in more the traditional kind of inverted data set, meaning that I want Wilson, comma, Al here? Well, one thing you can do, Wilson, comma, Al, go ahead and say yeah to all of that stuff. And as you fix them, and I'm just going to do a couple and show you this. Withers, comma, Bill. And we'll do Joel, comma, Billy. And now that one, if I had autocomplete turned on, that would finish that one, but we'll just let that one roll. Okay, and I could continue on down the line. So it wouldn't take all that long. One other note, if your database comes in that way, Joel, comma, Billy, you copy them over to the other side, to the artist, and there is the choice of inverting. In Mass Changer, you can convert names to last first. And that's really cool if you've already got a data set that you want to flip that particular way. One real important note on this one, if we go to library keywords, there is a remove unused keywords, and it removed 4 of them, and there's a good reason for that, because I got rid of Al Wilson for Wilson Al. I got rid of Bill Withers for Withers Bill, etc. So I think that's fairly intuitive. But it's very quick to build a data set, even from an Excel spreadsheet. Marking songs. Let's go into my hits database here. The reason why I think this is incredibly powerful, and MusicMaster has added some real cool features, F7 allows you to mark songs. Okay. And once you mark some songs, maybe you want them for modification, you want to print out a list of them for building a promo or something like that. Or maybe you're just addressing something in the library that you want to make some changes to. Well, now in version 4 SR15, there is this nice little pull down here where you can toggle back and forth and just say, show me the marked songs, or show me the unmarked, or show me both. But that is a quick way to come up with a list. And there's just the marked songs. And again, you could print that out, those kinds of things. There is another value there, and I am going to unmark these songs. I'm going to jump ahead, even my own webinar here, and say, and I'm going to talk about this at great length about the layout that you can have. But let's say I want to find all of the Chicago records in this particular day. So I'm going to come up here to this little marking tool, and I'm going to say mark matching songs, and I'm going to say artist keyword contains, and I got a bunch of artists in this database, Chicago, and not chic, but Chicago. And I'm going to throw that down in add and say OK, and I've marked the Chicago records. And Jill reminded me that the jump to next marked item is Shift F7. So let's go ahead and I don't want to change that song. Hang on a second. Because I don't want to change that song. And I did. Shift F7 takes me to Saturday in the Park at 3:26 in the morning. And at 8:05, I've been searching so long, and searching is easy. And at 1:03, Make Me Smile, and this great feature can. And at 6:56, it's a walk in the park to do a log here, and at 10:27, Old Days. And that's the last Chicago record on that particular day. I think it's really elegant to be able to mark a particular item in a log and then jump to it, whether it's for artist specials or finding the so-called needle in a haystack kind of thing. And that's ahead. So marking songs, marking in the log we talked about. Analysis. There's a couple kinds of analysis that I want to talk about. First, in the music itself, and let's open this up. And let's look at all the 70s in this database. Powers, mediums, and lights. And let's sort it by artist keyword, and then make the second sort title. So we'll have a really nice, pretty list here. And I'll get rid of the mark status. We're just going to look at everything in the 70s. 501 songs in order, okay? As you make decisions about your database and about setting rules and those kinds of things, one of the analyses that is very quick, very elegant, is to just go to any column. Let's even take artists for just a moment and do library analysis. And it turns out that there are 12 Eagles songs, which is almost 3%, not quite 3%. But it gives me the number of songs by each artist. And then I can even see let's see who the one-hit wonders of the 70s are. Or certainly Jay Ferguson is one of them. The same with, now I wonder if we have any duplicate titles. That's an interesting one. Library analysis is going to tell me that there are 2 versions of Best of My Love, 2 songs called Lady, not even the same song, and 2 songs called Fire. I could put a title keyword on those if I wanted to keep those apart. Let's go to role. Oftentimes one of the issues is I don't want to have females back-to-back in my data set. Well, depending on the percentage, in this particular data set, it's 13.37% females of my 70s. So I can begin to wrap my head around how far I might be able to interval those females apart, maybe 2 songs, 3 songs, or 4 songs. With a little bit of math, you can figure out what one song in a 13-song hour is and figure out how far apart you could have them. In the library analysis for energy, this particular database is almost 30% slow and 25% fast, with the bulk of it being in this classic bell curve. Well, I can keep slow songs separated by 1, and I could almost separate them, I definitely could separate them by 2. But if I ask for 3 songs between slows, I'm asking for a mathematical difficulty. My era analysis, you all get the idea of what this looks like. But for something like my type, which is my star and non-star, how far am I going to be able to interval stars away from non-stars? Well, 1 out of every 5 records is a star. So I could have them 1 out of every 5 records. And then something like trying to figure out what my average year would be, and then sorting them and saying, wow, this comes in. Really, there's very little on the ends. This is a classic bell curve again in terms of the middle of the 70s. So my average era is going to come in at about the middle of the 70s. All right, let's see. I think probably jump to the log, but before we get there, copying clocks and copying grids. And I need to thank Joe Knapp for a couple of these really clever features in here. They're things that he and I talked about. One of the ones that he put in that I just love, and I don't know if I'll call this a trick or not, but because I use the different, I'm going to call them levels, 70s level 1, 70s level 2, and 70s level 3, with my powers, my mediums, and my lights, and I'm using that proportional mix, and I've got 20, 40, 40. And here's another one, 20, 40, 40. and 20, 40, 40, and 20, 40, 40. Okay, let's go look at what the implication of that is, especially if I've used that uniformly. And I am going to turn on, let's turn on median. Which turnover do I want? Short, long turnover, median. I'm going to do mean turnover. Here we go. So in my 70s, my powers are turning over in 3 days, my mediums in 8, and my level 3s at 10. Well, let's say I wanted to slow down the level 3s, shorten it out to, I don't know where, we can go 13, 14, 15 days. Well, let's go back to that clock. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I'm going to find and replace elements. I've got my 20, 40, 40. Well, let's just, and it doesn't have to add up to 100. One of the real cool things is you can put any numbers you want in this first column. MusicMaster is going to very elegantly calculate kind of where that goes. But I want to slow those 70s down. I'm just going to say 30, okay? And it automatically recalculates for me what my percentages might look like, okay? So I'm going to change every single clock instance to that mix. So let's go ahead and do that. Change those clocks. And it's going to go through all my clocks, and it's going to tell me here in just a second how many I've changed. It changed 562 elements and 72 clocks. Well, that's a lot faster than it used to be in any form of software. So I really dig that. Because I'm going to be able to go back to my turnover analysis. Remember, we're looking at 3, 8, and 10. Let's recalculate. 3, 7, 12. So in just that one quick maneuver, that copy clock adjustment, I slowed down the lights. Maybe heading into a rating period, I decided that I want it to be a little more powerful. Let's do it one more time. Let's do this. Let's say, let's tweak it. Hopefully we got enough records to do this by. So we'll do 25. Yep, this is find this and go to this. Once again, instead of taking 4 hours and adjusting every clock, 72 clocks, 562 changes, let's go here and let's look at recalculating. Okay, 3, 7, 12. We took, I don't know, I think there were 3 or 4 hours there that we got rid of. So we, again, and you can do that over and over and over again, and I'd rather see you doing it that way than going through each individual clock. So that's one. Another, I was describing to Joe something that I do at Christmas, and that is, and in fact, since this is a copy of a database, I am going to delete my 1 Christmas per hour grid and my 2 Christmas per hour and my 3 Christmas per hour. I'll leave that all Christmas. But I've got my basic grid. Well, let's talk about what happens here. Now, in that basic grid, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I've got 20 distinctive clocks. Some of you on this webinar might have 168 distinctive clocks. You might have different staging or voice tracks or imaging that's distinctive by the hour. You might have 1 clock. You might have up to 168. Doesn't matter. As long as you have more than one, this is a tremendously time-saving, valuable maneuver. So I'm taking that basic grid and I'm going to copy it. Now, I give it a name. I'm going to call it 1 Christmas per hour. Now, what happens when we do this? Oh, create new copies of all assigned clocks. Let's choose that. And la-da-da-da-da. Now, what I just did used to take me about 4 hours. I think that took, what, 10 seconds? So I've got my basic grid, and there's what the clock scheme looks like. Let's go look at the grid that I just created. Christmas 1 per hour. Well, what it did is it took a distinctive nomenclature for each of those clocks. Now what I could do is go in. Let's just take this whole overnight thing. And let's say I wanted to replace, I'm going to make this easy on myself. Well, I'll make it real easy. Here, I'm going to take this 180s record, and I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to put in a Christmas Power, because who wouldn't want a Christmas Power? And there we are, and I'll save that. And voila, I now have, in all of these clocks, and in every one of these overnight clocks, I've got one Christmas record. Now, I could do the same kind of clock change where if I had one particular item that I could copy all the way through. Then I could take this grid. Let's take that one grid. Assuming I had gone through and put one Christmas record in each one of those, I take the 1 per hour and copy to, you got it, 2 per hour. And I'm going to say yes here and copy that. And in my 2 per hour, I open it up, and it's given me another letter in front of each one. And I can go in, and at that point, it would be 1 per hour, but I could go in and put a second Christmas in each one of those clocks. But it copies all of those clocks, and again, imagine for those of you that might have 50 to 168 clocks. That's a tremendous time saver, and I see so many guys doing that at Christmas time, building a grid, copy clock, copy clock, copy clock, copy clock. Well, you don't have to do it quite that way anymore. Changing log notes globally. This is one. I had a data set where I was working with a station, and the log notes needed to be changed. We had copied some clocks, made some changes, put in some new imaging, but some of these items needed to be changed. Well, when you look at it and you open it up, well, you could change it here, but there's a more elegant way of doing it, and one that saved me the trouble of unscheduling even a week's worth of scheduling, and that's Dataset, clocks, log note text. And here, when you make a change, for example, let's say we changed that and we want to leave that old jingle where it was, but the new jingle was ZM10, or let's make it 99, make it real distinctive here. When I do that, I would then be changing that in every place that it's in a clock. I'll go ahead and do that because it's a copy of a database. Another clever thing right here, some of you might have tremendously more longer lists of items that you've got, and I don't know if I did a purge on this one, but purge unused break notes, and all of a sudden the ones that aren't in any clocks get jettisoned. So that's a time-saving trick. Okay, shift editor. One of my tricks about shift editor, let's come up here. Dataset, schedule, shift editor. Everybody can see that what I have here is the 8 3-hour day parts. Oftentimes, what I find is what I call the arbitronic day parts. And I'll change them so we can talk about them. And this also is a very quick fix. Boop, and overnight. We'll make that day part 5. Okay, now I've got 5 day parts, but they're different size chunks. I've got a 4-hour morning, a 5-hour midday, a 4-hour afternoon, a 5-hour night, and a 6-hour overnight. That'll work. Let's think about math for just a moment. If there are more day parts, am I going to get better rotations? The answer is yes. The more day parts you have, the more buckets. And I want to be careful with that because, and I'll even talk about what I could call the absurd example. But let me go back to my 8 3-hour day parts. And that's the one that I really like the best. It is possible for you to do even more than that, but having mouse dexterity issues, I should have played more Minesweeper. All right. And day part 5 and day part 6. Now, think of them as buckets. Now when I set up my rules, I can say, well, unbreakable, go through 2 shifts before you repeat. But breakable, say breakable 1, go through 4 shifts. Breakable level 2, 5 shifts, 6 shifts, 7 shifts. With 8 shifts, by the way, only ask for 7 other shifts. But with more shifts, there are more buckets for it to travel through, more distinctive chunks of the day for it to go through. And that will improve your rotations. My experience has been that when they're equal sized, it works better. You might elect with a long TSL heritage AC or country radio station to have 4-hour chunks, 6 4-hour chunks. That's fine. I'm a fan of the 8 3-hour chunks, and just know that it's there. And again, Dataset, schedule, shift editor. All right, we're about halfway through this. We're going to get to some good meaty stuff here. Okay, rules and MinSep. Imagine I'm just going to talk about rules, and I am. Let me go to my, I built a webinar country database here. And this is what I think a fairly typical country setup. The call letters have been removed for protection. Well, I've got a rule set here. Let's just talk about what's set up. And I'm going to talk about this rule group in just a second. But embedded within the rule group, we've said only 1 female in a row. Got to have 1 in the hour, but no more than 4. Artist keyword separation, 40 minutes, and I'm going to talk about that. And then tempo disallowed, no 1-1s back to back. Breakable, another rule group. Let's take a look here. Okay, superstars, maximum to sequence 2, min-max quota on slows. I'll take a minimum of 2 slows, but a maximum of 4, etc. We could go on and even more good rules where we're trying to really get the mix that we ultimately would want. Well, let me share something with you. If we right-click on this rule group and look on properties, and we look on the category filter, I was going to say the A's are excluded, and they should have been. The A's are excluded, and I'm pretty sure on this one, properties, categories, all the currents are excluded on that one. So, what's rotating these A's? Let's go look. Let's go look at schedule, properties. We have a search depth of 1 on categories A, B, N, and C, all 4 of those. And in the pass order, they are ganged together. We do all 4 of those categories at the same time. Then we're also doing category D, T, S, P, L, G, R, and E, all in the same pass order. That's ganged pass orders. I'm going to come back and talk about that one, and let me just show you how that's accomplished. If I wanted these 3 Christmas categories to be ganged together, you click on one, get focused to that one, and by holding the Shift key down and dragging up, I gang them together. And if I want to go catch this next one, I'm going to do Shift and copy that up in Whammo, and get focused to this one and copy it up into 3. And so now those 3 categories are in the same pass, meaning that it's going to schedule them as it comes to them. I'm going to come back to this issue here, but first let's talk about these currents. Well, there's no rules on these currents, and there's a search depth of 1. Okay? Well, and yeah, let's save those changes. Okay, no rules, search depth of 1. Yes, and we'll save those changes. So what are we doing? Well, let's go look at the clock request. And you get a little bit of free consulting today beyond MusicMaster tips, and that is format category clock usage. We're looking at the A's here. I've got 4 songs, and let's open this up. Voila. Well, I've been really a good boy this year. I hope Santa treats me nice at Christmas because I've got 1 A in every single hour. And oftentimes I'll run into a database where they have blocked out. They've got a countdown show. They've got religious. They've got news, talk, long format programming. There's a specialty show at night or something like that. Well, I still schedule the 1A. Reason? And by the way, if I had no auto burn, I'm going to take the auto burn out. You want to see a bad rotation, 4 records in 24 hours, and watch this. Ta-da! If you liked a record today, you'll like listening to us tomorrow because we're playing them in the same order at the same time. That would be a formula for disaster for time spent listening. And a couple of programmers on the webinar are having heart attacks going, oh my God. Well, there's a great way to solve this. And what's really elegant, when you have uniform clock requests, as we did, we have 1 every single hour. Well, what happens? And watch this. If I just kick 1 at midnight, let's watch what happens. We'll walk you through this. Okay, well, everything moves on Monday. Okay, I get it. Let's kick 1 on Tuesday. I'm going to try to get Tuesday to jog from Monday. Yay! Now Monday and Tuesday are a nice schedule, but how about the rest of that week? Well, not very good. I'm going to kick 1. And voila, watch Wednesday be repaired. Ta-da! Y'all get the idea. Okay, let me do one more. So I'm auto-burning 1 record there, Thursday at midnight. Watch Thursday, jump 1. And there we go. And if I do that the rest of the week, because the clocks are uniform, it's going to be the same answer all the way through. And when I say, okay, here's my perfectly scheduled A's. And in a minute, we'll do an analysis on this particular database. Here's my B's. But before I put, or we talk about those uniform clock calls, there are 2 B's in every single hour. And I've done the work to find out where they line up. I know it's Wednesday and Saturday, and I'll remember that. But watch, when I take those out, then what I'm going to be looking for is a lineup. And look at what I've got. I've got lineups, see? Same record, same day. Same record, same hour. Okay. So how do I eliminate some of those lineups? Like definitely, and I'm missing hours where I could jog through. Wouldn't that be better if that was one of those was at 2 a.m. and one of those was at 4 a.m.? Well, of course. So I'm going to go up here, my clock request, my auto burn. Let's go 1 there and 1 there. I've spent the time to figure that one out. And look at that. I've got those nice patterns there that are the essence of time spent listening. Same with the C's. 1 C in every single hour. And I've done the auto burn of 3 at midnight. And whammo, this nice perfect mix. In fact, I never have a song twice. Look at this nice total that's been put here. So 21 plays, and never the same hour twice. I think that might work. Okay, and here's an N category that I got uniform chunk overnight and set up an auto burn so I can have the kind of view that I want to have. So let's talk about how this particular data set is scheduled through April the 5th. So I've scheduled ahead with this one. And let's go to History Browser. And there's a couple of histories that I want to look at. But I've got one called Daily Spins Check, and I'm going to load that one. Let's talk about that one. The time period, well, for this it's 1 day. Let's look at just music categories. Let's look at A, B, C, and N, and D, and E. We'll start there. Okay. In fact, I'm not afraid to show you any of these histories because I know how the rules are. Filtering, no filtering, display. If I'm going to do, individual plays and say, okay. And I need more than 1 day on that, don't I? Yeah, I do. Let's do, weekly spins because that'll load a whole week's worth in there. And so at the top, I've got my A's with 6 spins, 6 spins, 6 spins, 6 spins, my B's with 5 and 4, etc. Now, I'm going to hit F6 on that very first A. And, yeah, there is a seam there because I shuffle from week to week and have some song movement. And I'm not really worried about Sunday against Monday. But if we look at that whole week, each A, and my claim is that, and I teach music directors to do this, why not review, if you're going to schedule a week's worth of music, why not review the history of every single song? Watch how fast that can be done. I pull up the spins check. This is my most spun song, these first 4. So I look at that, and it's really kind of a lot of fun to do this check because it's very pleasant and very rewarding to see how elegant those histories are. And we'll go through there. There's my C's, my C. And because of the uniform clock position, it's always in that last quarter hour. They show up that way. And then that overnight N category there. Okay, let's go through those N's. All right, let's add a category to this. Let's then go further. Let's get rid of those, and let's look at the D's, E's, S's, and T's. And when I say OK, and I'm going to sort them by the most spun. So what's the history of the most spun record in my power recurrent look at? Well, there's 5 or 6 records here with 2, but look at that history. So, and what you're looking for is those lineups of the same hour. And we're not having that kind of stuff because we got good rules. Okay? All right. So it's a real quick and elegant way of checking histories. Let's talk about another one that I've got in my favorites. One that I call Artist Sep Check. Let's load that one and look at what that is. What I do there in the display, it says Artist, and I want to see the total spins. Okay? All right. Well, I could look at it by spins and look at the most spun, but what I actually do is sort by min sep, and I scroll down. On this particular day, I've got 1 Billy Currington and 1 Billy Dean and 1 Diamond Rio, and they're in alphabetical order. But if I scroll down, I get to the artist that ever gets the closest together. The closest I ever get together is Toby Keith at 44 minutes. And then the closest Tim McGraw ever gets together is 52 minutes, and George Strait 52, and Taylor Swift an hour 3, etc. Okay. Now, I'm very comfortable with that in this particular data set. Some of you who have it set to be an hour or more, that's a perfectly fine thing. But let's talk about artist separation for a moment. Data set, library, keywords. Okay. One of the things that's really terrific about this program is its ability to calculate very quickly the math of where you are in terms of artist separation. So the artist separation wizard, and this is something that I'm actually an advocate of running. These are defaulted information here that I've got. I got a 3-hour separation for my auto, and I'm going to just click next. And there are actually 4 keywords. I wonder if I made some changes. Let's filter those down. Aha. It says, and I'm going to go ahead and say change, accept those changes, and say done and separate. Okay, and I'm going to go down here. Now, it did shorten a couple, shorter than actually I'm going to tolerate. I'm going to go with a 40 minutes or 41 minutes. And I'm going to change this Toby Keith to 40. 40. Now, what I know, here's what I know. I know that I've got too much Tim McGraw and too much George Strait to actually get my 40 minutes. And what I'm going to tell you guys and gals listening is that, and I've had lots of thoughtful conversations with Joe Knapp and other music schedulers out there, some PDs who've really thought long and hard about this and spent time with the math and gotten geeky on us with it. And that is that if you bump it a little bit, you're not making the earth wobble on its axis, but maybe there's a way that you could pull out 2 or 3 songs by these guys and then achieve that. That might be the best way. And that's going to jump to a discussion of auto platooning that might be really cool with some core artists. But this keyword wizard, this separation wizard, is something that I think, and I'm going to show everybody exactly where it is again. I'll shut all this down. I think it's something that you should run on a weekly basis on a current-based radio station where you're making music changes on currents. And that is going to be dataset library, keywords, and then you want to pull this down so that you're looking at artist keywords, and then run that wizard, that separation wizard. Now, it's going to tell me, by the way, if I run this wizard, it's going to tell me I've got 3 or 4 to change, and it's going to be the ones that it runs short, you know, the Tim McGraw, the George Strait, the Toby Keith, less than the 30 minutes that I want. Actually, the Lady Antebellum and the Sugar Land are 5 minutes up. Maybe I move those from B to D or something like that. But that is a calculation that would take you a long time to do, but because the database is already there, all that information is there, it's really terrific. Let's see. I want to talk about platooning, and I have platooning set up in this database. And I'm tempted to, I'm going to describe it, and I'm awfully tempted to say it's something that I could set up for you guys to watch. But let's look at categories for a moment here. Library, categories. Okay. Notice I've got 3 categories of 60s, power, medium, and light. 3 categories of 70s, power, medium, like 80s. There's a late 80s, and add a beach music category for a nice southern radio station. A couple of overnight filler categories, Christmas music categories, but let's scroll down and look what we have. Aha! 61P, 60s power platoon, 60s medium platoon, 60s light platoon, 70s power platoon, 70s medium, etc., and 80s platoon. First thing you do is you create these buckets for songs to go into, and then you're going to park some records in it. So let's go look at the platooning here. Schedule auto platoon, schedule auto platoon. And I've already set this up, but in my 60s level 1, I created a category that's 61P, which is 60s power platoon. And I put 12 records in it. And then I set up the schedule. Here's what I did. I put 12 records in it, and I said every third Sunday, move 12 records out and 12 records in. And what it's going to do is take the 12 most played songs out of that power category and automatically put them in that bucket. And it's going to take the 12 that have been resting and move them back up. Something that we've all done by hand, but this does it automatically. Now, once you've selected the songs that go in that platooning bucket, you've created the platooning bucket, you've populated it with 12. And the way I do is I sort it alphabetically, and I randomly go through and mark 12 records. If there was 120 records, I'd mark every 10th one. Mark, go down 10, mark, go down 10, mark, go down 10. That way you're cutting the library equally. You don't take 5 Beatles records, you take 1 or 2. So it cuts through the library equally, or stratifies the ones that go in that bucket. Okay, the analysis. Well, there are 41 songs in the primary category. There are 8 songs available in the secondary category. The number of songs to move each time is 12. And here's what it tells me. It will take 42 days for a song to go out of that bucket and back, and it'll take 105 days for it to go all the way through that main 60s primary category to bucket them all out and bucket them back in. Now, by either increasing the number of songs that go in the bucket or the interval in the schedule, going to like every second week or every week, we can change that. Let's change that to every other week, say OK, and look at it. Now look what happens. 28 days to rotate through, and the entire primary category would turn over in 70. If that's too fast, go back and change it back, and I am going to change it back to every third. By the way, you could elongate it. Let's just for fun, every 6th week. Let's see how long that takes. Well, it would take 210 days for it to cycle. Let's go one more, because I'm going to get it to a whole year. Every 8th week. Watch this. Let's see if I'm any good at this. 280 days. Well, we could get up to, but the point is that you could figure out how fast those buckets are going to change. One of the things I do, and I'm going to cancel that one, I never move platoons on the same day of the week. I have different numbers of songs in each platoon, and I do one on Sunday, one on Monday, one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday, one on Thursday. That way the platooning between categories and category platoon buckets don't happen at the same time. So I think that's also a clever way of doing it. Okay, let's see what I'm up to in my planning here. Auto platoon. Okay, log editor setup. Log editor setup. This is meat and potato stuff here. Let's open up this one, and this is my 60s, 70s, 80s database. Okay. Well, as you all know, you can put out here the columns that you want to see. and I'll open this up. And so we can move those fields over. Now I've done something a little different here. I've actually created what are called highlights. So if I took that star out, in fact, let me take those highlights out for just a second. And schedule highlight star, schedule highlight slow, schedule highlight female. Now, okay, so now I can see my types, and I can see my energies, and I can see my roles. And just to prove that, let's use the marking tool that I talked about before. Let me unmark everything first because I think there are just a couple of songs marked. There we go. Mark, let's do, let me think here. What do I want to mark? I want to mark type. Okay, I want to mark type. I apologize for being slow sometimes as I try to wrap my head around. Okay, type equals star. I'm going to mark my stars and say okay. Okay, and now I see my stars are in blue. And one of the things, if you've ever seen me speak at a seminar or talk about music scheduling, I call them telephone poles. Make sure your stars are telephone poles throughout the hour. That's the essence of time spent listening. That way. Let me do that with a country database. I'm fairly famous for country, and let's go to a nice Friday here and open up a log. Again, I've got my stars highlighted here, but what I'm going to do is mark them and mark. And here I actually call the category star and superstar and mark it up. And let's go ahead to like 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. Ah, nice hour. But the idea is you're never far away from one of those stars. Because of the highlights, you don't necessarily have to mark. And let's talk about those highlights. In this database, I've got 3 things here. Let me unmark everything in this one. How do you set up those highlights? Well, this little guy right here, Song Highlight Filters, I came in here and on the first tab, and I want to thank MusicMaster because originally the evolution of the program, it keeps getting better and better and better. Every single day, every single week, every single month, they keep adding stuff, and it just keeps getting. Every day is a Christmas present with this program. I remember when there were 3 filters, and then I asked for more. And in some data sets, I use more. This is one I'm using an original 3. I've said this first one, tempo equals 1, slow, and I added that, and I don't need it in there twice, but I just show you all how to put it in there. Okay, tempo equals 1, and I picked a color, and I selected yellow for slow, and I gave it a name. Highlight filter 2, song is a female, I made that pink and called it female, and highlight filter 3, the type field is star, I made it red and made it superstar. Okay. Then in the design editor, let's go over here, in the fields, I pulled over those particular highlights. And instead of saying highlight 4, 5, 6, 8, I gave them a name, so it's highlight slow, highlight female, highlight star, and they have the colors. So I can instantly see, just at a glance, where my slow records are, where the females are, and where the superstars are. And see the kind of spread, and see the kind of juggling that I might want to do, or what kind of rules adjustment to make. Okay. One other thing about this particular kind of schedule, and this is another feature that MusicMaster has added and just turned on steroids and made it really terrific. First, I'll show you. It's called instant analysis. What the instant analysis is, it used to be that there were software products where you could say, highlight one thing, highlight slows, and then give me the percentage. Then you'd have to turn it off and then change it and say, highlight females, and give me the percentage. Well, now, what MusicMaster has afforded us is the opportunity for an unlimited number of information, kind of a dashboard of how we're doing. So, and let me show you what this looks like here and then how it's set up. I'm looking at the 2 p.m. hour, and it says there are 4 slow songs of these 16. That's 25%. There are 7 stars this hour of the 16 songs, and that's 43%. There are 2 females, and that's 16%. And then I've got it calculated on the entire day. The day has 89 slow songs, 136 stars, and 55 females, and again, the appropriate percentages. Now, one of these is in red. The slow says 89. Let me tell you what that means. Over here in Setup, Instant Analysis, what I have done, and let's look at this, slow hour, and I will edit this. It says, okay, in an hour, with a target being slow songs, just music, against scheduled songs. I don't want to look at non-scheduled, jingles, liners, and that kind of stuff. And show me the count and the total percentage, and here's the label for it. And I've said flag it if it's 0 or flag it if it's 5. Okay? Now, the one that got flagged on this one was something on the day. One of the day, it was slow. So let's go see what part of that we have here. Day, slow, edit. And we said, well, if there are, and I did this and I calculated, based upon the number of slows in the database, if there was less than 40, then I didn't have enough slows in the day, ironically. I didn't use that component. I had X number of onions in the salad, and I served a salad that didn't have enough onions in it. Or if it was over 84 songs, then the day was too slow. Well, it turns out that somewhere I've got some slow hours, because by 5 records, I've really kind of got a slow day going. All right, let's take a look at that. And I'm not going to, well, I'll take a look at overnights. Here's overnight, and I'm going to look at the slow per hour. And I'm down to about 4 minutes here on this webinar, but I want to talk about that. 4, and then 1 o'clock, 4, 6. So here's an overnight hour that's out of balance. Too many slows. Here's an overnight hour, 3 o'clock, too many slows. 4 o'clock, too many slows. 5 o'clock, too many slows. Now, let's just make sure that that's where it ends, though. A daytime hour with 3, 4, 3, 2 slows, 4 slows, 5, my 11 o'clock. I might want to go remove one of those. But my problem was overnights principally, okay? And that's the reason why that jumped. But it flags it there for me. Let's see if there's anything else in the last 2 minutes I want to talk about. Set up of the next button and Shift F9. Well, I was going to talk a little bit about replacing songs, but that's for another webinar. We're down to about 1 minute, and I was supposed to warn Jill if I was going to throw it to her and see if there was any last-minute questions, but probably what we'll do is tell you to sign up for the next MusicMaster seminar. There's a lot of tricks, and there's a lot of cool things. We talked about highlighting here in the log editor and being able to jump, Shift F7. Replacing songs where you can double-click. If we have another session sometime and I'm on it, we'll talk about how you can set up what categories it goes to. And then the Shift F9 can be set up with a different set of categories. It might be the double-click F9 is just the mother category, the category that's scheduled, and the Shift F9 might look at 3 or 4 categories. So we're down to about a minute, and I'm going to open it up here, and I guess Jill or Mark Bulkey might have a final comment and invite you to another webinar. And I want to thank everybody, and I want to thank MusicMaster for this great program and the opportunity to talk about how I'm using it and how I'm trying to get the most out of it.
Keith, awesome presentation. Thank you so much. If people have a specific question about something that you showed them today, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Okay. Email at unconsult@aol.com, unconsult@aol.com, unconsult@aol.com. And if they just put webinar question and then whatever the question is, I'll be glad to answer them.
Fantastic. Thanks again.
Yay.
Everyone, next week's schedule, the next coming week, couple weeks actually. The next week is on April 1st, and it's no joke. We are going to be talking about tools and maintenance on your database. And the following week, the week of the 8th, setting up weekend specials, which we get a lot of calls about. and also on the 15th tax day using audio files in MusicMaster. So those are the next 3 weeks. If you have an interest in attending any one of those, by all means go back to the website and click on webinars and click the link for the specific week and sign up for those. If you have any other questions regarding what you saw here today or this spurned additional questions, and by all means please call us at MusicMaster, write us, email us, but reach out to us. We're here to help, and we want you to maximize everything that the program has to offer. So once again, thank you very much, Keith, and we'll look forward to speaking with everyone again next week.
Okay. Thank you.